Hey everyone, Paul Vojchehoske here and welcome to the channel. Hey, I just wanted to announce that I have the fifth version or the fifth edition of the real estate agent's bookkeeping spreadsheet that many of you have used over the years. I have incorporated several suggestions that I've had from you folks over the last 18 months. Now, I've had some really high level suggestions with pivot tables and all of that. And I appreciate those, I do, but I really want to keep it very simple, or at least as simple as possible, but yet comprehensive enough so someone can see, basically what their business is doing based on the numbers. And also it's very easy to print. That's one of the things that I incorporated is a method where it's easier to print for your CPA. Now, if you continue watching the video, I have a step-by-step process on how the new spreadsheet works. I highly encourage you to watch that. By the way, I started this spreadsheet about 2007. I guess I gave the first one away. And on December 22nd of 2022, I sent off an email giving the 100,000th person this spreadsheet. So I'm pretty excited about that. Just a little project I started back in the mid-2000s. Other than that, please do me a favor. Give this video a thumbs up, hit that red subscribe button. That's all I ask that you do. And then if you would like a copy of the updated version, please drop me an email, and the email address is right here. That's all I got, everybody. Continue on to watch the step-by-step instructional video. Happy New Year, happy 2023. Best of luck to all of you. All right, so let's take a look at Edition 5 to the real estate agent bookkeeping spreadsheet. Now, as you know, if you've been using my previous versions, this is a substantial change in the format from previous versions here. And a couple of reasons why that happened. Number one is, me included, because I used the same sheet here, it was just a pain in the butt to print. And it would print awkwardly. Excel's really hard to print anyways. So what I did is I just basically created a situation on the dashboard where you only have to print this sheet. You don't have to print each individual quarterly spreadsheet. It just auto calculates everything into one sheet, which is easily able to print. And that's why we have the dashboard. The other thing is it's kind of a cool look, and it gives you an overview of how your business is going year to date and quarter by quarter. So let's look at the bottom of our spreadsheet, and you'll notice that there are several worksheets to this spreadsheet. We're right now looking at the dashboard. Here we have quarter one income, quarter one expenses, then we have quarter two income, quarter two expenses, all the way through quarter four. So what I've done is basically split up income from expenses, again, to make it more efficient when we're inputting our data. The other thing that I included was home office deductions and charitable giving. And what you can do is right here in this column right here is I've got the most common deductions that we see when you're taking home office deductions. These are cells that you can change, so you can simply write it in if it's something different. However, real quickly, whether it's charity or whether it's home office deductions, not every agent can take home office deductions. There are some rules, so please make sure that you talk to your tax accountant before you make those. Let's go back to our dashboard. The dashboard is laid out a couple of different ways. Number one, it's laid out where up here in the upper left-hand corner, this is going to calculate all the gross incomes, all the gross expenses, factoring in our mileage deductions, and then it's going to give us how much estimated federal taxes that is owed and how much estimated state taxes it's owed if you pay state tax. Now, if you live in a state that doesn't have taxes, then please reach out to me, and I have a separate worksheet where I have omitted state income tax. Now, the calculation on what you owe is based on 28% to the federal and 6% to state. I've also included where if you pay quarterly taxes right here to federal and state governments, then you can calculate or at least input it here, and it will auto calculate, as I'm going to show you in our estimated tax calculator. I have a place for mileage where we can start calculating our mileage. And again, mileage is auto calculated into the overall estimated taxes that we owe. All right, let's look here at our expense categories and our income categories. It's the totality of all the different categories of expenses that most real estate agents can expect to pay, and also the income categories. What I did is added or broadened some of the different specific categories. I know some agents like to track their income based on listings, if it was a buyer, a tenant, if it was a referral, an agent profit share, or team member, etc. You can now calculate all of that. And then here to the right of the sheet is just a bird's eye view of your quarterly profit and loss. And I'm going to show you how all of this works. But one thing to remember, this dashboard here, all the numbers and calculations on this dashboard come from worksheets down below. All 4 quarters of income and expenses are factored into this dashboard. Once again, home office deductions in your charitable giving, it is not factored into the calculations on this dashboard. All right, so let's look at one of our income sheets. Now, Q1 income looks exactly like Q2 and Q3 and Q4 income, and the same for the expenses. So quarter 1 income worksheet looks like this. And I'll show you how to use this. But there are a couple of things I want you to take note. We have our total gross income cell, and then up here in green is the category total. The category totals, they calculate all the totals from the Schedule C income categories. The listing commission, the buyer commission, the tenant commission, all of those in blue that you see there, all of those column totals are going to be calculated as a total up in the green category totals. We also have our total gross income, this cell that's in yellow right here. Now, this cell should always match the category cell right here. If there is a discrepancy, if one says $1,000 and one says $500, then that means there is a discrepancy in one of the categories, and we have to figure out where we made our mistake. All right. And I think it'll be a little more self-explanatory when I show you how this works. Now let's look at Q1 expenses. If you notice all the expense categories, the Schedule C expense categories in red, advertising and marketing, bake fees, business equipment, etc. Those are the most common expenses that we as agents claim on our Schedule C of our 1040 tax return. And so I've just created columns, all right? But let's go back to our dashboard. Notice that our expense category and our income categories, all of those individual expense categories are listed right here. All the individual income categories are listed right here. And what we do is just auto total those onto this page from Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 sheets. Again, it's just a way to give you a bird's eye view of all the 4 sheets. All right. In the end, very important, at the end of the year, when you need to give your accountant the numbers, this is the only page or sheet you need to print. You don't have to print all the other Q1, Q2, etc. You only have to print this one, print your home office worksheet and your charitable sheet, and that is it. All right, so let's go to our quarter 1 income worksheet, and let me show you how this works. Let's say that on January 2nd, 2023, you had a $5,000 commission. Now notice what happens right here in this cell. Notice that it auto-calculates the total of that column, all right? And this was for commission at 123 Main Street. And let's say that this was a listing commission. Now notice what happens in this cell right here and in this cell in the green category totals. Watch the 2. Notice that they auto-calculate, right? The green total category total there is the total of all the income that you have made from all those different Schedule C income categories. It's going to total up each one of these cells right here. All right. Real important that you understand or you keep in mind that this cell right here and this cell right here must always be the same. And if they're not, then we have a discrepancy. And let me show you what that would look like. Let's say that on February 1st, 2023, you had another closing and it was for $10,000. Now notice what happens and how we auto-calculate right here. Notice that in the total gross income column, this total of this column is now $15,000. This was for 321 Main Street. And let's say that this was a buyer commission. But notice that I put $15,000 right here instead of $10,000 because the total commission check was $10,000. So I inputted the data correctly on the total gross income column, but I made a mistake on the buyer commission. Notice what happens here and here. It auto-calculated. It auto-calculated what you inputted. But let's take a look at this cell and this cell. Notice that the green category totals is now 20,000 and the gross income is 15. We have a discrepancy, so you've been alerted to this. So every time you input an individual transaction, you always need to check these two cells to make sure that they match. So I went through, I figured out that I made a mistake, and I'm going to change the 15,000 back to the 10,000 that it should be. Now look at what happens to this cell right here. Notice how they both changed. It's just a way to double check your calculations. Now let's do one more. Let's say that it was March 2nd, 2023. I had a $500 commission, and that was for a referral that I gave to an agent in Arizona. And I'm going to go to the agent referral column and type in $500. Now notice what happens in this cell and this cell. Notice how they auto-calculate. Also know and remember that this cell and this cell must always be the same, so we double checked. There you go. It's really as simple as that to use this income worksheet. And just FYI, the first quarter worksheet is the same as the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. But I do want you to real quickly, let's click over to our dashboard here. And notice what's happened so far. Notice in our 2023 income category that all of our calculations from the Q1 income worksheet has been inputted onto this database. Also, let's look over here at our quarterly profit loss. Notice that it's auto-calculated our income. And then notice up here in the estimated tax calculator, it has auto-calculated our income so far, but it also has tallied what are estimated federal and state taxes. Now, this doesn't reflect any expenses yet, nor mileage or our estimated payments, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. Now let's go back to our quarter one expense worksheet, and I'll show you how this works. Let's say that on January 3rd, 2023, we made a $500 payment. Sprint, even though they're not in business anymore, that was for our cell phone. Now, I want you to take a look at something here. Notice what happens in this cell and this cell. Just like we've seen on the income worksheets, it's the same thing. I hit enter. Notice that the column total is calculated here, and the category totals is calculated right here in this cell. Once again, the category total cell here should always match the total gross expense. Let's do another one. Let's say on February 1st, 2023, you dropped $4,500 in marketing. You used your credit card, and that was $4,500 we're putting in the marketing and advertising column. Now notice what happens to this cell and this cell. Notice that they auto-calculate. Once again, the green category total cell should always match the total expense. This cell right here. If they do not match, then we have a discrepancy. All right, so let's go over here to our dashboard again. And notice that the two transactions that we inputted are now reflected on our 2023 expense category. Let's go over to our quarterly profit and loss. Notice that the income and the total expenses are reflected here. That gives us our net income. Now notice up here on our estimated tax calculator, it has auto-calculated all of our income and expense. So we have $15,500 of income year to date. We have $5,000 of total expenses year to date, which gives us a net income of $10,500. That's the amount that we're going to have to pay our taxes on. And based on the calculations, it is estimated that we owe Uncle Sam $2,940 and we owe the state $630. But again, we haven't calculated in our mileage or our estimated tax payments yet. So let's do a couple over here for mileage. Now, where does our mileage rate come from? As of January 1st, 2023, the IRS says that it's 62.5 cents. That is the rate for mileage deductions. This does periodically change. So every month, if I was you, I would go to Google and just type in 2023 IRS mileage rate, and it will give you any additions. Right now it's 62.5. So let's say that we drove 250 miles in the month of January. I want you to take a look at two cells here. Watch this cell as it auto-calculates and watch this cell right here as it auto-calculates. Notice that we have $156.25 worth of mileage deductions, and it has been auto-calculated into our estimated tax calculator. Notice that the net income is $10,500. But once we inputted the mileage credit, now our taxable income is $10,343.75. That also changed our federal taxes, estimated taxes that's owed in our state. So let's say that we go to February and it's 62.5 cents and we drove 500 miles. Once again, look at this cell and look at this cell and see what happens. It auto-calculates, it adds the $312.50 not only on the mileage input section, but also on our estimated tax calculator, and it has reduced the amount of money, our net income, that we're going to have to pay taxes on. Now, let's say that it is April and we're going to make our first quarter estimated taxes. As of right now, if you look at these two cells, it is estimated that we owe the federal government $2,800, and it is estimated that we owe the state we live in $601. So you cut a check to the IRS for, let's say, $2,800. Now, I want you to pay attention to this cell and this cell. Notice what happens. It auto-calculates. And if you look at the estimated tax calculator cell, notice that the remaining estimated balance that we owe Uncle Sam is $8.75. So let's go down to our state estimated tax box, and let's say that we're going to pay the state right now. It is estimated that we owe the state $601. Let's say that we pay $600 of that $601. Now watch this cell and see what happens. Notice it auto-calculates. It brings it up to date based on those estimated quarterly payments. Now, as you can see, after we do the inputs, it recalculates what our estimated federal and state taxes are. Now, really quickly, and then we'll be done here, is don't forget, this dashboard does not calculate anything for home office deductions or charity. All right, so let's take a look at our home office deductions sheet and our charitable giving. Now, again, many of you are going to be eligible to take a home office deduction and some are not. Please talk to your tax advisor. And what the IRS allows you to do if you're eligible is you're going to be able to deduct a certain portion of all your utilities, rents, mortgage interest, etc. As an office expense. Talk to your tax accountant on the specifics. But we do have to track our expenses. So let's look at this cell right here, January. Let's say your cable bill was $250. Your gas or your electric was $200 and your gas bill was $100, and you would do the rest of the month, right? Notice the auto totals right here. That's going to be important as the year goes on, because at some point at the end of the year, you're going to give this sheet to your tax accountant so he or she can do the calculations for the deductions. This is a great way to keep track. Now let's go to our charity giving worksheet. Now, many of you like to give the charity. So let's say charity number 1 here. Notice it is a white column, so we're able to change what's in there. It just says charity number 1, but let's say this is Rockport Church. That is the church that you go to. And in January, you gave $500 in tithing. Notice what happens. It starts tracking the total. If you go to February, you gave another $500. Notice that it just continues to auto-calculate. Great way for you to track your charitable giving, because your tax accountant can then use that on your income tax. Before I go, I got a really important thing to say here. Number 1 is please watch this video beginning to end before you reach out to me for questions. So often I get questions and the answer was within the video for this particular worksheet. I literally get thousands of inquiries every year regarding this worksheet, and I spend a lot of time, helping people. So please watch the video first. Then give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I would appreciate that. And share this with a fellow colleague that may be working in your office as well. If there's any changes, additions for future editions, please reach out and let me know. I'm trying to keep this sheet as comprehensive as possible, yet keep it very, very simple. There's a lot of things that I could have done, but I'm just trying to keep it simple. I hope this has been valuable to you. If you have any questions, please reach out.